Hello everyone, and welcome back to this 14th episode of Brilliancies with Mikhail. And today we are going to analyze a game played between Mikhail and our great former world champion Anatoly Karpov. Now, this game was played in 1987 in a Swift Blitz event held in Brussels, Belgium. And Anatoly Karpov was much strong at that point of time, but still, you see why Tal is not only a tactical bliss but a great understanding player of the game. So there are players, they are good players, and then there is a player like Ta who understands the game so well that he can even sacrifice just based on his intuitions and judgments. So yeah, let's start with the game right away. Um, we have Anatoly Karpov with the black pieces playing against Mikhail Tal with the white pieces, and as you can see, Karpov has just played bishop e6, and he's kind of inviting Tal to sacrifice the rook here with rook captures on e6, and Tal of course does it because Tal is all about sacrifices. So you have rook captures on e6 by Tal, you have f captures on e6 by Karpov, and now bishop to c4 by Tal, attacking the pawn. And well, Karpov could give the pawn back, but then Tal gets a bishop and a pawn for a rook, and that is it's still okay to play with that position, but you can't guarantee that Anatoly will survive the bishop pair. So Karpov plays queen to d6 here, guarding the pawn, and now Tal plays queen to e2, pressurizing the pawn once more. You have knight to d8 by Karpov, and now rook to e1 by Tal, and this is just normal chess. You're pressurizing the pinned piece, and there is practically no way for Karpov to defend the pawn now. He plays rook to c8, which is the best engine move here. And he's now asking Tal a question that, okay, you can capture on e6, but like if you capture, this captures, queen captures, rook captures. After all the trades are done, I have rook captures on c3, and this is a much more better position for black. I mean, you just can't trade off pieces. You're down the exchange. So that is the basic what you can say. That is the basic threat that Karpov has here in this position. So he plays rook c8 with this subtle threat, but Tal is not the one who is going to fall into this. And Tal plays the correct move here, knight to d2. And uh, astonishingly, this is not an engine recommendation. I mean, when I put engine on this game, knight d2 was not even in the first three engine recommendations. But this is indeed a good move. So he's asking Karpov that, okay, if you want to give you back the exchange, I'm willing to take it. But I've destroyed your pawn structure. This is going to be a long-term weakness for you. You cannot push e5 either so simply. So this was one of the choices that Karpov had, but of course Karpov doesn't go for it, and Karpov plays the move king to h8 here. He says, okay, well, let me get out of the pin first. And now what is your plan? Well, knight to d2 was all with the plan not to defend the bishop, but to go knight e4, which Tal plays, and Karpov goes queen c7. He says, well, okay, I'm now defending my queen, and again he's asking Tal his plan. Well, Tal finds a very nice plan here. He plays bishop to b3 here. Of course, since queen c7 was attacking the bishop, so Karpov had moved the queen, also attacked the bishop. So always, this is a trait that you will find in grandmasters. They have multiple ideas in a single move. So because the queen was on d6, it was under attack. So Karpov not just moved the queen, but also counter-attacked Tal's bishop. So Tal correctly spots it. He plays bishop back to b3, and now the c3 pawn is guarded. So you can't really take queen c3 because it is guarded well with the knight on e4. So Karpov kind of gets frustrated here because his position is very passive. I mean, this is very passive position. He needs to break open the center, and that is what exactly Karpov does. He plays e5, but meantime he also opens Tal's bishop, and Tal exactly plays the next move with the same idea. He plays h4 here. He says, well, okay, you can have the center. I'm going to have the king side. And here is where the entire race starts. So you have e captures on d4 by Karpov, and now h5 by Tal. And you can't continue capturing like this because just pawn captures on g6, queen h5 is coming, and queen h7 is coming on the board. That is not how you play chess. You have to always react to your opponent's threat. And so does Karpov. He captures g captures on h5 here, and now I will. This is not a brilliant move by Tal, but instead of finding what move Tal played, you guys can pause here to find the actual best move here for white. Of course, Tal doesn't play it because he's a human. He's not an engine after all. But do pause the video here if you can find the best move for white here. Yeah, for those who did, congratulations. You're brilliant spotters of tactics. And now, for those who want to enjoy the show, the best move is knight to f6 here. And what is the idea? Of course, you can't take because in queen e8, sorry, the queen to e8 is a nice little checkmate. You have to interpose with the bishop. But what happens if you don't take? What happens if you just move the rook away from the attack of the knight? Well, now you have knight captures on h7, and this is just game over. Now queen h5 is coming, and there is no defense against the discovered attacks that white will have. If you capture the knight, just queen captures on h5, and now you see the bishop on b3 doing all the job. You have to put the bishop in between. Now just queen h6, and it's game over for Anatoly Karpov. So of course, this was the best thing that could happen, just because this is Tal's game. But Tal, of course, doesn't find it. Slight inaccuracy from a human. He plays queen h5, and this also comes with a similar idea now, threatening knight f6, but this is slightly different, and Karpov finds a way to stop it. He plays rook to f8 here. He says, well, okay, the rook was under attack, so I will just move the rook, also keeping an eye on the f6 square. And now Tal cannot go knight f6 because the rook is no longer on e8, just ef6 will be much more destroying for Tal. So Tal switches some ideas here. He plays bishop to c2. He says, well, okay, now I will still threat knight f6, but meanwhile I will threat a nice little checkmate on the h7 square. So what do you actually do? And Karpov finds a very nice, I'm not sure if he found it, because if he had found it, then this game would have certainly ended in a draw, because this is a pretty much drawish position. He plays queen e5 here as black, and this is pretty much drawish position. And why? Because now you can't go knight f6 because you have queen to e1 check. And why this is a draw? After king h2, you have this amazing bishop to h6, and this is very difficult for any human to spot. I mean, even in the game, Karpov had a chance to go bishop h6 before he blundered finally. But who the hell finds bishop h6 here? I mean, this is nonsense. You can't find this. The point being that you can't take with the bishop. Otherwise, you have e captures on f6, and yeah, you can take, but then just queen e5 check. You trade off the queens here up by exchange, and you are completely better in this position. So, I mean, this is not what any human can find. Of course, bishop h6 cannot be found here, and that is why after queen to e5. Although I feel that queen e5 was played by Karpov not in accordance with bishop h6, but this is just a centralizing queen move. I mean, there is no idea that you know Karpov can find beyond that. And of course, Tal sees this idea of bishop h6, so he doesn't go knight f6. He plays knight to g3, and he's kind of sacrificing the rook, but there's a difference. Of course, bishop h6 still goes for a draw, like after queen e1 check, king h2, bishop h6, and still it is a draw with the same idea, because if you take with the queen, just rook f7, and you have ideas like if you go like knight h5, just queen e5 check and queen g7. Of course, not right away, because knight is guarding the g7 square, but this idea of queen e5 check and queen g7 is certainly in the air somehow if the knight doesn't stay on h5. Even in the previous line that we showed after knight f6, the same idea does work, because after queen e1 check, king h2, you have bishop h6, and after you capture with the queen, rook f7, for example, you still, you are attaching the h7 pawn thrice, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can take with the knight, but now you have queen e5 check, pawn to f4, and this queen to g7, and the queen is just in time for the king. This is just game over for white. You can't trade off queens. If you don't trade off queens, try to maintain pieces on the board. Just queen h7, brilliant queen sacrifice by Karpov. Now, if he would have done in the game, bishop h7, rook h7, and this is just game over for Karpov. I mean, he's going to lose the queen. Sorry for Tal. He's going to lose the queen, and he's going to lose the game. Of course, this was the engine line that was possible, and that is why I first felt that Karpov played this move queen e5 here in accordance with this line. But now after knight g3, when the same line is possible, Karpov does play queen e1 with a check, king h2, but now he doesn't find bishop h6, and he is not in the mistake here, because no human will find bishop h6. I mean, this is just too much of a computer stuff. So Karpov plays h6, but this is a blunder. Now you give up the king's defenses. Your bishop captures on h6 by Tal, and there is not much you can do. If you cannot capture because queen captures, king h7, queen h7 is a mate. Of course, that cannot be allowed. And Karpov does try king to g8, but now comes bishop captures on g7, the final move by Tal, and there is nothing. you have queen h8 to f8 checkmate threats. Karpov does try to capture on f2 here, trying to create some space for the king. But now Tal finishes off the game in style, and I will give you guys free. You know, you can pause the video. I will give you some time to spot the checkmating pattern here from Mikhail. Yeah, for those who can find it, congratulations, you're now a nice puzzle rush finder. This is like a puzzle rush that we usually solve, and Tal plays queen h7 check. King to f7, you don't have any option, and now queen to g6 with a check. Of course, the queen is guarding all the squares nicely. King back to g8, and just bishop to h6 with a check, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing. You cannot go anywhere in the f file. You have to go king h8, and now queen to g7 or queen to h7 would be a nice little checkmate, or queen to e8 also checkmate. So yeah, a brilliant stuff by Tal. He missed certain chances. Karpov missed a draw. Of course, it's a bliss match, so it's totally understand that the players can miss things, certainly. But finally, Tal delivers a nice little blow at the end after Karpov pushes h6. There was a line here which could, you know, kind of extend the game with rook f6, but this doesn't help. I mean, there is still this check, king to, just a minute, yeah, king to f7, bishop to f6 check, and this also leads to a similar pattern. You have to, of course, take the bishop. Then comes this queen to f5 with a check. You have to go back to g7. Now comes knight h5 with a check. And now wherever you shift, even if king h6, queen g6 is a mate. If king g8, still you have this check followed with checkmates. And there is nothing. Even there is queen c8 hanging. It's all game over for black here. So yeah, this was the line if black would have gone for rook f6, but Karpov of course went for rook f2 and further lost the game very quickly. So yeah, this was a game between the well-known Anatoly Karpov and Mikhail Tal. Tal crushed him with the white pieces. So yeah, thank you once again for watching today's video. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't done till yet, and do follow all our series. There are 3 ongoing series right now. We have the blindfold chess series, we have the Tal series, and we also have puzzle rush series. So 3 series, uh, not daily uploads, but I'm trying to increase my upload frequency so that I just remain intact with what feedback and what basically what feedback my audience has regarding our channel. So thank you once again for watching, and let's meet in the next episode of Brilliancies.